International Spiritual Conference hosted by African Hidden Voices.
I would love to greet the founder of AHV, Imboni, Dr. Uzulezo Khatebe. Greetings to AHV chairperson, Babu Donza. Greetings to AHV team, my colleague. Also greetings to the team that I'm leading, social media team. I've also once again to greet our very special guest from Ghana, USA, South Sudan, and Zimbabwe. I'd like to thank the AHV founder for opening such an organization to unite Africans in the name of spirituality. Research is information, but revelation is direction. Some Africans are researching African roots, which is good, but they lack the revelation to clarify and simplify these African issues. What is common about missionaries in Africa is that they were able to identify African spiritual powers, which were our spiritual kings and spiritual guiders. We as AHV, we are saying, we see what you are doing in your spaces, but for us to proper restore Africans, we need to unite as Africans. We can never restore Africa and its people when we are scattered. Because missionaries, when they came to Africa, they were united. So now we have to unite.
We as African Hidden Voices, we are excited to launch yet another groundbreaking, extraordinary book entitled Restoring Africa's Spiritual Identity. Inkosi yomoya Dr. Uzulezo Khatebe's revelation teachings inspired this book. It is palpable that there is a yawning gap between Africans and their spiritual identity. Hence, the book begins by dismissing the notion that there was ever a religion in Africa before the advent of missionaries and colonialism. It repudiates the fallacious and oft-believed notion that Ethiopia was originally Christian, when in fact King Ezana imported Christianity to Ethiopia in the 14th century CE. Monotheism is distinguished in the book as alien to Africa, who practiced polytheism before colonialism. Most significantly, the book seeks to clarify and augment the significance of a spiritual hierarchy and correct the misconceptions that as Africans, we were heathens and pagans who never knew the Creator before the advent of colonialism. As Africans, we were never faith believers. We were rooted in spiritual knowing as a consequence of our spiritual experiences as we interacted with our ancestors, deities, the cosmos, and one another. The book also accentuates religious conversion or proselytization as a practice that was imported to Africa when missionaries landed on our shores. This practice was meant to brutally force and subjugate our ancestors to accept the colonizers' religious dogma. This was not part of our spiritual identity. We were people firmly rooted in knowing that the spiritual world existed or exists, and therefore knew that we needed to communicate with it not via religious texts and the rigors of academic learning, but through revelations, visions, and dreams that emanated from the spiritual world. To regain this power, we need to restore our own spiritual identity. How do we do that? We need to start seeking guidance from those that are mandated to lead us. Politicians will only wax lyrical about the restoration mandate and not offer credible and poignant solutions. They are not mandated by the spirit world to do so. Pan-Africanists do believe they can offer solutions, but how can one lay a claim of being a Pan-Africanist when they subscribe to a belief system that was responsible for the enslavement and subjugation of our people? For Africa to restore her spiritual identity, the book argues that PSCBs were or are the pillar or the fulcrum of any African civilizations. Governance, law, economy, and societies must be intricately intertwined with PSCBs as they had or have the spiritual mandate to guide nations. The powerful nation of Kemet was led by the spiritual kings who dabbled as physical kings. Hence the power the nation exuded. The journey of spiritual restoration is not an easy one, but In this book, we seek as African Hidden Voices through the revelation teachings of Nkosi Moya to Dawuzilweze Hadebe, seek to accentuate the fact that a return to Africa's spiritual hierarchy and order will put Africa back to its glorious and powerful days as the cradle of humankind.
My local name is Nsangokochi Ojumora Ayetu. That is my local name, and I'm from Ghana, West Africa. And my master is called Abraham Dimushi from Ghana Common Sense family. I was once a pastor with my master, my senior pastor Abraham Dimushi, and we were religious. As you know, how our colonizers, our slave masters brought religion to Africa to divert us from our spirituality, our power. So I grew up in Christianity. Later, I discovered Christianity is nothing but scam. Religion is nothing but a tool just to destroy the mentality of black people. So we have to divert, we have to leave religion alone. So I have to stop the pastoral course and start telling people to use their brain so that we will go back to our roots. So the only thing I have for Africans now is it's time to go back to our spiritual identity. And I saw a book, Spiritual Identity, and I was so happy, so excitement. I will be very happy if I can get the book, the hard copy in Ghana here, so that we move on. Now, let's go this way. When we are saying religion has damaged the black people, it's true and nobody can doubt it. Our ancestors were living life without religion, without Christianity, without the Bible, without Jesus. They knew God already. Our ancestors were living with God. They were working with God. They were meditating. They were meditating God. They knew everything about spirituality. All of the sudden, religion came from nowhere, but from our colonial masters, landed into Africa. Everything got spoiled. Now, how do they did it? According to, if you read Mark chapter 3 and verse 27, and here I read, this is what the Bible says. This is how they were able to conquer Africans. And I think the time is now for we to go back. My father used to say, no matter how dark the room, a man will still find the way to her or to his woman. No matter how darker the room, the man or a man will still see the way to his wife. That means no matter how darker and far religion has taken black people to, we will still find our way home. And this is the way home, is to unite and reconcile ourselves and connect our spirituality back. I'm reading Mark chapter 3 and verse 27. It says, no one can break into a strong man's house and take away his belongs unless he first tie up the strong man. Then he can plunder his house. Yes, that is what our colonial master did. When they get to Africa, they targeted our kings, our spirituality, our festive priests, our belief system. So they have to disconnect and spoil everything there, because that was our powerhouse. That was where we were connected spiritually. So they target there and they destroy everything. That is why they were able to conquer Africa. And the way they did to conquer Africa is the same way we have to do and restore Africa back. But what? We have to go back to our spirituality. Our colonial masters brought religion to Africa. The very day religion got to Africa was the very day the black man got lost. As I'm talking now, why would a black man bear a name of Europe? Why would a black man bear an Arabian name? Muslim names, a name like Mohammed, Yusuf, and other names, David, Francis. Anytime someone wants to disconnect you from your spirituality, they change your language. Now, there is far difference between religion and spirituality. Religion is far different from spirituality. Religion disconnects you from nature. Religion disconnects you from the supreme creator. But spirituality will connect you to nature. Because in spirituality, we know, we don't believe. Our forefathers knew God. But when it comes to religion, they will tell you believe. That means religion goes without knowledge, but believing. So, Mr. Africans, black people, this is the very and the best time for us to unite. And do you know something? Very soon, religion is going to die in Africa. And it has started. Because
yes, I as Benjamin Wani Feliciano, I believe that religion has to go. Even when I got awakened last year, it was in April. I remember it happened to me at night. It was in a very tragic way, and the way I actually got awakened, no one told me about anything. Something just happened to me spiritually, and it shocked my whole body, and it triggered my brain and my heart. In the church, when I was still religious, because I was actually a deacon in my church, it's Seventh Adventist. We are very tough in terms of Bible. Like we can read for you the Bible, and we can even sing it for you. You understand? So I was one of the toughest religious person in my Seventh Adventist church, and I was a deacon for 6 years, by the way. And when it happened last year in April, the awakening happened last year in April, I started going deep into some research, because I believe research can make someone open eyes. You understand? Can trigger the brain to ask more and more questions. And with asking more and more questions, that brings you to the reality where we are living in. You understand? So I believe religion should pack its bags and go back to where it came from, because I don't see a reason why something that doesn't work on our behalf, something that doesn't work for us. Like, for example, how many times have I prayed? Just very, very last year, I buried my father. I'm sorry to tell you this one. I buried my dad, despite all prayers, despite this holy oil, this hoo-hoo oil, anointing oil. We did everything. Even I fasted more than 3 times. So I came to realize during my awakening, everything started to make sense.
My name is Zakaria Mundondo. I'm still 25, but I changed my name now. I'm no longer use the name Zakaria Mundondo, but that is the name that is still on my particulars and documents. I'm using now my name called Tinotenda Taweguyo. So it was really difficult for me to make such a decision to change my name, because for the record, Zakaria is a name that came along with colonialism. And Zakaria is an English name or a Hebrew name that I don't understand, or I don't know any meaning to such a word. So it did not actually resonate with me as an individual or as a person. So I had to find a name that resonates with me as an African. Therefore, I'm using the name called Tinotenda. And the name Tinotenda means thank you, Siyabonga. And my new surname is now called Taweguyo, and that is the name of my mother. So whatever I do, whatever I say, I need you guys to thank my mother. That is the meaning of my name, Tinotenda Taweguyo, Siyabonga Taweguyo. Religion is losing traction in Africa, especially to the younger generation, because we are now modernized and we are now urbanized. We are living in a global world where we no longer live in small tribal groups, or we no longer live primitive as those people who were living in those small groups. Now we are in a global space whereby education, you can access it the same with everyone else. You can go to social media and research and find answers to everything within your phone or within your electrical gadgets. But for information like this to pass back in the day, it will take ages. It will be a generation that will pass information to the next generation. So there was no point in time whereby the younger generation will have knowledge that surpassed the older generation, because it was passed from generation to generation. But so I could say to the young, to the older generation, religion is not losing traction, but to the younger generation, because of the exposure into the new, of course, religion is losing traction.